really have to do this in every aspect of your life. You got to do the right things for the right reasons. If you make a mistake, you own it. If people try and tear you down, try and understand what their perspective is and try and lift them up. Take the high ground, or the high ground will take you. So despite the level of violence in Ramadi, engagements were highly visible, highly tracked. And in Task Unit Bruiser, we did get investigated. And when we did, I was thankful. This is actually a great lesson I learned very early, which was from the Army. If something questionable happens, immediately get an investigation. You should invite investigation. Did you have this attitude?
Dude, I am literally sitting here, and it's like you're describing my experience there. All these things you're saying are the same exact things. I have so many stories in my head. I was thinking of a story 10 minutes ago as you're walking through this. I was on a patrol, and listen, we worked together a bunch. Most of my operations were not with you because we were doing so many operations with so many other units. I was on a patrol and I was supporting an Army squad or platoon or something. We shot a cow. A local civilian cow got shot twice. And they did an investigation. I was interviewed because I observed it. And in the end, like we conducted an investigation and then went back to that family. I could show it on a map, and paid them, bought the cow, apologized, and fixed that problem over a cow. The level of scrutiny was so insanely high, and I don't want to make it sound like it was debilitating where you were fearful of doing something wrong. You just understood that every single thing you did was being watched and observed, scrutinized and assessed and reported from all sorts of people. So even if I was like, hey, don't tell anybody we shot the cow, which is ridiculous anyway, 20 other people who I'm not coordinating on that are going to report it, to include the owner of the cow.
The owner of the cow, who's going to go meet with his sheikh on Thursday night, and he's going to be like, hey, you're freaking Americans shot my cow.
That's right. And so the best thing we learned we could do is if anything went wrong, and things went wrong, we made mistakes, cows got shot, is we didn't wait for someone to tell up the chain across. We came home and immediately reported those things. And if it wasn't you, somebody else was going to do it. It was just the life that we were living there. So as I'm listening here quietly, I am living in my head what went on. It's exactly the same thing across all places that we operated there with every single unit. Yeah. You simply could not do anything out of what was appropriate. And by the way, if you did, you were actually putting your own life at risk too. It would have been dumb even if you could, but you couldn't. Mm-hmm. That's just how it was.
And that's what the thing about investigating, that's what I learned. You know, the word investigation has a negative connotation, right? Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you're getting investigated. And so what happened was I was working with an Army unit. I was probably 2 weeks there. And we were planning or something. He's like, oh, I got to go talk to whatever, legals here, to the CID. CID's here from Baghdad. I'm like, oh, what for? He's like, oh, we're getting investigated. I was like, oh. He goes, oh, no, it's good. He goes, that's my attitude. Come investigate us. You want to know what we're doing here? Come investigate. And I was like, that is beautiful. And that's the attitude I had. So you should want to get investigated. You should want to have everyone interviewed. You should want to have the truth be there. The classic example, like the blue on blue. We had a blue on blue. Obviously wrote about extreme ownership. I came back. I was like, hey, we just had a blue on blue. Let's investigate and find out what the hell went wrong. Every KIA gets investigated. If you enter a mosque, they're going to investigate that. If an unarmed person gets engaged or gets killed, it's going to be investigated. And here's the good thing. Once everyone on the team knows that, like everyone knows. Yeah. Everyone knows, oh, any action that you take is going to be investigated.
You were talking about investigation, and the connotation that most people have is this negative connotation, when actually what it is when done correctly, which it almost always is they're there to help. It's not that much different from like an inspection. They're making sure that you're smart and safe and protected, so your Marines are. And so all that scrutiny was welcomed, and I think reflecting on this, the biggest mistake that I made, and I can feel this now looking back, because, and I don't want to put myself on the same scale of what you did. I worked with you guys a lot. I did a lot of my own without you with other teams, so not just with Task Unit Bruiser, but I feel all those same things that you're talking about, all those same experiences I had, is I took for granted the understanding that everybody would have about what we were doing, because I spent all my time with people doing it. Meaning, I didn't think about what people on the outside were thinking about what we were doing. I just didn't spend any time, and I needed to. I needed to think about their perspective, their misunderstanding, their ego, their point of view, their experience, which is totally incongruent from my experience, because if you did anything like we did, it is nothing like anybody else had done. It was different. And if you don't understand that context, you could very easily draw conclusions and make accusations and say things that aren't true. And that's because I never explained it. It's because I took that for granted. When I arrived there and we started doing what we're doing, up to the point that Chris was killed and beyond, what I took for granted was people understanding what we were doing, how we were doing it, and probably most importantly, why. And so the idea that this is just a perspective levied on your unit or particular unit, it's all of us that were there that had the obligation to make it understood what we were doing. The idea that you could do something misaligned with the rules of engagement and get away with it. The only thing more outlandish than that accusation or that thought is the realizing that you would never do that anyway, because it would undermine what you were trying to get accomplished, the belief in what we were doing. And it's hard right now, a little bit of a hard pill for me to swallow was the failure for me to not take into account everybody else on the outside of that world and the assumptions they were making. That was my job. It wasn't just to call in airstrikes or train my guys or shoot. That was my job.
That's originally why I asked you how many bombs did we drop. Because you know how many bombs you could have dropped on Ramadi? All of them.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yep.
You dropped 30 maybe, 40, whatever the number is. Every one of those buildings at one point or another could have had a bomb dropped on it because it was housing insurgents. But we didn't do that. Men and women, by the way. And I call that out specifically because I'll never forget seeing a casualty evacuation rolling out to go support Iraqi soldiers that were wounded, and there's a woman in the turret. So men and women took incredible risk. Instead of dropping a bomb on that building, to go out and clear that building and keep the local populace safe. And there's a huge amount of risk to do that. But that's what you have to do. And I hope that in these ongoing wars, the same approach is taken. And that is what we have to do in every aspect of life. You really have to do this in every aspect of your life. You've got to do the right thing. You've got to take the moral high ground. You can't surrender it. You got to do the right things for the right reasons. If you make a mistake, you own it. If people try and tear you down, try and understand what their perspective is. And try and lift them up by showing them yours. And for business, for life, for combat, in tactics, and in morals, take the high ground, or the high ground will take you.